Welcome back to News Make Alive. I'm Jerry George and I'm filling in for Clinton Reynolds. He'll be back next week on News Make Alive. But my guest this evening is Dr. Gail Regobert. Regobert. And of course, she was just recently elected as the deputy leader. Nominated, that's correct, as the deputy leader of the Opposition United Workers' Party. Again, welcome.
Thank you.
Now, what attracted you, first of all, to the United Workers' Party, which you eventually joined?
The United Workers' Party embraces many of the principles that I too hold very firmly to, and these are conservative principles, the centrality of family, the importance of community, the advancement of all, and it seemed like a natural fit.
Mm-hmm. But doesn't the other party also do that?
I thought you might have asked that. As a good student of political science, we're often asked what is the philosophical or ideological difference between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not unique to St. Lucia. Throughout the Caribbean, one finds examples of parties really differentiated by color. But here I really wish to say that we are a party that celebrates or gives centrality or primacy to some very core values, and family being one of them, the belief systems, respecting and honoring that and encouraging expression in a particular kind of way. But you know what, Jerry? I'm so happy you've asked that question, because I think it is something that every St. Lucian ought to ask him or herself, because we need to get to the point where, with regard to association, that we know why it is we are associated with any given group and how it differentiates from any other. And I welcome that question. It gives me the opportunity to implore others out there, whatever your association, know why it is you're in there, the extent to which it closely resembles your core values, that you do not find yourself in conflict with or in difference with that to which you belong to.
Now, did you go willingly or to the United Workers' Party, or were there any special inducements for you to join the party?
Jerry, I've always wanted to do this. I've always known myself to be politically interested. I come from a family that was very politically aware, and my father himself was active, as you know, and there's several layers of involvement in terms of politics, and let me really take this opportunity to express the importance that I assign to the task that a politician assumes, because regardless of the importance of all the other roles in a political machinery, when one offers oneself for elective politics, it is a tremendous sacrifice. So I have tremendous respect for every politician all over the world, because it is a sacrifice. Having said that, I became politically active as a teenager in the youth arm. At that time, there was no youth arm in Micoud North, but I was at the A-level college, and on one given evening accompanied my cousin to a youth arm meeting on Marion Street back then, and where the party headquarters was located. And it was so natural. I was then chosen to participate in the youth parliamentary debate here in St. Lucia and in St. Vincent. And my adrenaline was pumping. It just felt like, hey, this is what I want to do when I grow up. And even in terms of my choice of study, my first degree is in government. But having said that, I have now come to appreciate that perhaps the best university to attend in preparation for politics is the University of Hard Knocks. But when I speak with young people, I tend to encourage them in that regard, because it is important that you know what you want to do. So in that sense, I was always so inclined, one. Two, after Sir John's passing, and Sir John I hold in tremendous regard, in very high regard, and I have great respect for what he has done for this country. And when he passed, I remember saying to my boss back then, I need to leave for St. Lucia in the morning. My prime minister has passed. And says, Gail, I understand on several levels.
Okay, right.
So I came down, I was involved, you know, in the preparations at the local level. And it was a very poignant moment for me. I will confess that I saw myself as a successor then, but that was not the divine time. And we all know how that turned out. And I went back to the university and continued along with my teaching, which I absolutely love. And returned in 2010 to offer my services to the government for 1 year. It should have been 2010, April 2010 to April 2011. And literally on the expiration of my term of secondment to the government of St. Lucia, I became the selected candidate for the United Workers' Party. It worked out beautifully.
But this also ended a stranglehold of the Compton factor in the seat that you ran for.
I would not quite express it that way. I think that I continue on from where my predecessors would have left off. And I take this opportunity to thank them and their families, although we've lost, for example, Mr. Rodney Shabatis, we've lost Sir John, but we still have with us Mr. Louis George, and I wish him all the best, and to continue to thank him for the contribution that he made to this country in the area of education and labor, and his contribution at the constituency level as well, and of course Ms. Compton, who preceded me. So I think that...
Your relationship with her is?
I haven't seen her face to face since the elections. I only see her in traffic. Have I really? I can't recall. Not really. We haven't had a sit down, you know, where we haven't been in an environment where we can sit down and have a chat. But to the extent that we ran a very elegant election campaign, I think is laudable, and all the three women had to be congratulated for that. I think we proved that we could do it differently, and it can be done honorably and with respect and decorum, and I think we proved that to a certain extent.
Now, this brings us to the whole issue about women in politics. You know, I mean, it has been a long-standing issue about, you know, how women are perceived in terms of being able to run in politics and do some of the things that, you know, men have been credited for over decades. How do you see yourself in terms of making any valuable contribution to the development of St. Lucia, or even, for example, changing the tone or the shades of the party that you're associated with, the United Workers' Party?
Well, St. Lucia boasts of having one of the highest rates or one of the highest levels of female involvement or women in politics, so to speak, at the in elective politics. As you know, women play an important role in political engineering and electioneering, etc. But with respect to elective politics, seldom do you find a woman presenting herself.
Why is that?
Well, it can appear to be daunting. It can appear to be challenging. It is known traditionally as a male-dominated field. But politics, like medicine, like law, like any of the other traditionally male-dominated fields, is changing. And there is space for women. And St. Lucia has proven that it is very much ahead of many other countries with regard to the number of women involved in elective politics. To ask me, how do I feel as a woman in politics? I feel a tremendous responsibility to speak to the issues that pertain to women and families. Do I feel any less capable? No. It reminds me of all the other questions pertaining to isms, whether it's racism or, you know, any of the other isms, those socio-psychological labels that are assigned to you so as to predetermine your capabilities. So, you know, a professor asked me one time, how do you feel as a black professor? How do you feel as a, you know, so usually my immediate response is to stay away from the isms and the labels. So I am a woman in politics.
But at the same time, you have brought up the word daunting, which means that there are barriers that need to be sort of either shifted, removed, overcome, etc. How does that play out in, you know, as notwithstanding all that you have said? How does a woman in politics, you have, as you indicated, they are more or less the supportive system,
Yes.
but getting to the, you know, the right place seems to be, you know, hard.
Jerry, you know, I never once had reason to think that I was a woman applying to join a party and to contest an election. It never once occurred. My gender never featured. I don't know why. But having done it, then I realized, hey, you are a woman in politics. And so there's an expectation, a natural expectation, which I wholeheartedly embrace, that
Which
you will
is?
represent and speak to the issues of women in particular. You become the voice of women.
Okay.
And there is that expectation that perhaps you will champion the cause of the woman more so perhaps than your male counterparts. That need not necessarily be so, but that is the expectation.
Do you sense then your male counterparts, do you believe that they give you the respect that you believe you're due?
Absolutely. I've had no reason to feel any less than because of my gender. No, and I'm grateful for that. And I don't think I could readily exist in a space where I'm treated differently because I'm a woman.
What about the electorate? Do they do that in any way?
On the campaign trail, it can be very interesting.
And I'm not only talking about the electorate in terms of the United Workers' Party
Just
supporters
generally.
and followers, just generally, both in terms of, well, all the parties that contested the election.
I think children are very intrigued by women in politics. Young people tend to be. So I have quite a youthful following, and even nationally, and that's the thing that keeps me going. To hear those little voices, Auntie Gail, Dr. Regobert. So that's one good thing.
That's intriguing, and we will talk a little more about the youth in politics, because we know that there is a shift away by a lot of young people as to what is going on in politics generally in St. Lucia, and we'll talk about this when we return from our break. This is Newsmaker Live. Come back and join us, and we'll be having, we're looking at, for example, the Town and Village Financial Review Report, which has been released just recently. We'll be looking about the contest for the leadership of the United Workers' Party. All these things, we want to hear a view from our esteemed guests tonight.